Hi, I'm Matthew Rue, and this is algae-based biofuels. Since the creation of the internal combustion engine, engines have relied heavily on fossil fuels. The problem with fossil fuels are they're not renewable, they're considered to be dirty, and they have the potential to run out in the future. They're also expensive, with fuel prices going over $4 a gallon in both gasoline and diesel. Engineers have tried everything from making engines run more efficiently to using alternative fuels to reduce the cost, such as ethanol, vegetable oil biodiesel, and propane. But there's a fuel they haven't put much research in, and that is algae-based biofuels. The reason why this is potential is because it's renewable, because it grows naturally, and it has potential to be manufactured at a low cost. Ways to grow algae used for biofuel. There's a couple of methods that you can do to grow the algae. The most popular is the open pond system. The open pond system has several different types. It can be just a pond or something that's called a raceway open pond system. It can vary in size from an acre to several acres and is about a foot deep. You can also use photobioreactors. This is a closed system. The algae is grown in multiple tubes around a centimeter in diameter, and the tubes are in glass structures such as a greenhouse, and it's normally grown in a laboratory type setting. Alright, the raceway open pond system. This is the most popular type of open pond system. The water is in channels the shape of an oval, just like a racetrack. It uses paddle in the water to keep the water circulating. This way you get an even formation of algae opposed to algae growing on one side or the other. Some advantages to the open pond system are the low production and operating costs. This is because if you wanted to, you could just have a body of water just grow the algae, because all you really need is sunlight and bacteria. It's also the easiest way to grow algae, and it's easy to access for maintenance and removal of algae. That's because you can just have a pond, it doesn't need a cover. Also, you can go inside and you can clean up the algae, or just clean up if you have like a man-made pond because it's uncovered. Disadvantages, it's not covered. This can lead to contamination of the algae and evaporation of the water. The contamination of algae could damage your product and you get a lower quality algae or just less algae. Some advantages to the photobioreactors are there's no contamination from outside sources. That's because the algae is grown in small cylinder tubes that are grown in a laboratory type setting. And because it's grown in a laboratory type setting, you have the ability to control temperature, carbon dioxide content, pH level, and other variables. The disadvantages to this are that because it's grown in a laboratory, it is expensive. Because it's so expensive, the only companies that really use it are pharmaceutical companies. After the algae is grown, the oil needs to be extracted from it to create the biodiesel. The two most common methods for the extraction are mechanical and chemical. Mechanical extraction is the easiest and simplest method for oil extraction. The process to extract oil, you use a special dryer to dry out the algae, and the dried algae is placed inside of a press and the oil is extracted. You can do this through a hydraulic press, such as in the image shown, or you can do this with a hand press. This method extracts around 75% of the oil from the algae. Alright, for chemical extraction, the mechanical and chemical extractions are combined together. After the algae has been grown, it's placed inside a mechanical press where the oil is extracted. The remaining algae is taken and put in a cyclohexane solution, which dissolves the remaining oil in the algae. The algae is then filtered out of the mixture. The remaining liquid is distilled to separate the oil in the cyclohexane. At this point, you have rudimentary biodiesel. It's not used as often as mechanical extraction because it's expensive, and this method is able to extract around 95% of the oil in the algae. After the oil has been extracted, whether it's by chemical or mechanical means, the oil is referred to as green crude. That's because the oil is naturally grown and environmentally friendly. The oil then needs to go through a procedure called transcertification. Transcertification is the change from oil to biodiesel. This is the same as taking vegetable oil and turning that into biodiesel. The steps to form biodiesel are you take methane and sodium hydroxide and you mix them together to form sodium methoxide. Sodium methoxide is mixed with the algae oil and left to settle. After the mixture of sodium methoxide and algae oil have settled, you're left with a mixture of biodiesel on top and glycerin on the bottom. The biodiesel is then separated from the mixture and run through a filter. The biodiesel is now ready to use in an engine. Advantages of algae-based biofuel. It's a renewable resource. The algae can be grown in a laboratory or it can grow in a pond naturally. It can be grown in fresh, salt, or even wastewater. When grown in wastewater, the formation of the algae actually cleans the bacteria out of the water, so you're left with cleaner water than when you started. Algae-based biofuel doesn't affect agriculture the way that corn-based fuels do. Also, because the algae can be grown in salt water or even wastewater, it doesn't affect water the way that corn-based fuels do as well, since it takes a lot of water to grow corn. When the algae is being formed and goes through the photosynthesis process, it absorbs carbon dioxide and releases oxygen. This cleans pollutants created by factories that create ethanol, electricity, and fossil fuels. Because it is grown in water, it doesn't take up a lot of space. 1 acre of water could produce around 5,000 gallons of biofuel every year. No greenhouse gases are created in the production of algae-based biofuels, and it has a decent energy return on investment when being compared to gasoline or diesel. Alright, some disadvantage of algae-based biofuels. The cost per gallon is currently high and unclear on how low it could go. This will be unclear until enough algae-based biofuel is manufactured to be competitive in the market. Currently, you can't actually buy any algae-based biofuel. You can manufacture it yourself and it's being tested for research and development, but it's not available. The process to create and extract the oil from algae takes longer than refining gasoline and diesel, especially if you dry the algae naturally using the sun, and it takes up a large area. And if you do it in a large area where the sun's present, it's going to be a place that is normally suffered by droughts. The biggest drawback of algae-based biofuel is there's not enough research. There are no numbers given to the MPG that can be achieved, the emissions that are being released from running it as a fuel, or how the diesel engine can handle running the fuel long term. In conclusion, the fact that algae biofuels naturally clean the environment as the algae grows due to the process of photosynthesis, this is one of its biggest advantages. Since most fuels create pollution in the process to create them, the production of algae biofuels do not. Algae biofuels are also cheap and easy to produce. The only problem is they haven't had enough research and development to figure out how cheap they can actually be to manufacture. More research and development need to go into the algae-based biofuels to see if the potential of the fuel is worth the overall cost.